Take it away, Dave and Mickey.
Oh, well, this is Dave.
This is Mickey also.
Oh, well, you shouldn't have given away your surname. This is Shiny Side Out. It's a radio show that we have together, and it's weekly, and this is the 524th.
420 and 500.
And we're on WZZR, coming to you from Australia for Revolution Radio on freedomslips.com. It's home to fresh, unfiltered ideas and conversations, and you'll find us in the chat room, and it's a really great place to get your merch. So the artist known as Amad Painter, he has done all the artwork for the station's paraphernalia, and it's really cool. So go to the station's website. You'll find it at freedomslips.com or revolution.radio, same place, and get yourself some merch. You can catch us, that's Mickey and I, or Revolution Radio as a whole, on air, online, and anywhere you happen to be, even on the International Space Station, or on your way to Mars, if you happen to be lucky enough to do that before there's some kind of cataclysm that was the reason for going there. Or you can just sit at home in your lounge chair with a Grace tabletop digital radio. Old school it. That'd be pretty cool. Or there's another way. You can ring the station. The station has a dedicated audio-only line where you can't be heard, and you can call that number. But watch out. Make sure your phone plan allows you to have, a 2-hour phone call without any problems. Hopefully, you're in the same area code. Do you? I don't know if you knew this, but Solaris, who had the show prior to us, she had Charles Ostman and they were discussing AI. My goodness, that would have been a great show.
Oh yes.
But you know what? I feel kind of a little sad that I didn't get to listen to it live, but I can listen to it by going into the archives, and the archives are free, and you can download the show as an MP3 and listen to it in your own time. In fact, you can download a bunch of them and just binge it, because that's what we do. We do that these days. We just binge. So Solaris has great shows, always great guests, and you should be listening to her show. And now, with the greatest respect to the traditional custodians of the land, where I'm broadcasting out of Darkinjung country, and Mickey?
Daruk country.
Yes, and we pay our respects to the elders of those communities, past, present, and future. Wow. Mickey, every single week that we say the world's gone crazy and it's crazier than last week, well, this time good old Mother Nature has decided to step forward, make us all proud, making us proud that she's in control. And that's the easiest way to put it. Because, the north coast of the state we live in, up in Lismore Way, southern Queensland, northern New South Wales, well, they had another flood from last week to this week. They said they had the worst ever floods before, then they had floods that weren't worse again, but they were just more floods. Everyone had cleaned everything out, was just about to start trading again as shops and living back in their homes again, and another flood came. And there's still more rain coming at the end of this week, so we don't know what's going to happen. A huge low pressure system has run down the coast, and it's been pretty terrible. I'm going to share my screen, but I won't play the clip. 12-meter waves at Manly Beach, Mickey.
Yeah, no, that's nuts.
The site is called Dead Man's, and it's really, really cool. But just saying, that isn't something that happens very often. And those same sized waves have, what do they do to Avoca Beach?
Oh, they just went inland. I mean, it looked like it was a tsunami, just flooding houses and such. It was just so you had water coming every which direction. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
So the water that there's no beach. Even Bondi doesn't have a beach anymore. Even that the pool where the Bondi icebergs swim all year round in the ocean's water in the pool, there that was white water. It looked like a washing machine. It's all just foam. Everything was foam, all broken wave foam everywhere. Just crazy. Anywho, but we had some just endless rain. We had the coldest summer, but with the most rain, and that kept the highs and lows very tight. Very little difference between the highs and the lows, and now we're seeing the sun diminish and start to head northwards, and we're gonna see what we would expect to normally be a dry period, but once again here comes more rain, and we'll just have to see what happens. However, the other story, Mackie, comes from the other side of the world in Brazil. They had the same kind of floods. Yesterday, cars washing down the street, brown water. It's like maybe 2 feet, 3 feet deep, the same as Lismore. And they're like, wow, this is the most devastating floods they've had. Just crazy. And because so what I wanted to say that because this isn't just in Australia, and it's not just in Brazil or anywhere. It's these storms are getting worse, and every time we say that, everyone goes, "Oh no, this is cyclical." You see, there weren't people living there before when it was bad. Well, that's probably true. It could be true, but cyclical. Well, the ferocity of the storms is the ferocity of the storms is getting worse. So, I struggle to answer the questions when they say, well, what's going to happen next? Well, I think I'm not a climate scientist. Weather is different to climate. Climate's a long view. It's like, oh, okay, well, this is what we're looking at. Currently what we're looking at, if we can all agree this is what we're seeing right now. Yeah, okay. So then what would the next thing be? Well, I don't know. America just saw a line of tornadoes because of their weather in the southeast of a front that moved very, very slowly, a warm front, and the very fast-paced northwesterly wind. The southeasterly wind was causing tornado after tornado, like 7 of them in the same place or just beside each other. All one dies off, another one starts, another one dies off, another one starts, because it's the perfect conditions. So I like calling out weather because it happens to all of us. I like calling it out because we're all connected by that, if nothing else. I just wanted to quickly say something about the COVID thing. It's 6,100,000 deaths, and it doesn't seem to be quite enough. And most of the countries are relaxing all of their rules. It's now in Western Europe is the greatest. The outbreaks there, Germany, France, England, through Italy, and that's kind of where the worst of it is now. But we're not seeing much else around the world. There's a background. These background numbers are large, but when you look at the graphs, they've halved, more than halved, in weekly cases to only 400 million. No, it's not. in a week. So that's all right. You can just bury your head in the sand. No one seems to care at all anymore.
Yeah.
The fatigue, the coronavirus fatigue, is well. It's gone now. We don't need to know about it.
We are catastrophe fatigued. It's only so much you can take, and after a while, you just it's go, okay, all right, what's next? Okay, then what? Okay, and this is where we are. Yeah, then what? Right? I mean, this is unfortunate. I mean, I hate to say it, but it really is that way. But you know what? We don't need any natural disasters or climate change to do us in at all, Dave.
We're strong enough to do it on our own.
Well, not even that.
That. Not even that.
Not even that. No, this is brilliant. So there's a couple
we don't
of
need those stinking badges.
This is amazing. So this is an article from 2019.
What's that?
And then there's another article talking about a separate experiment from 2020. So in 2019, Chinese scientists have put human brain genes in monkeys, and yes, they may be smarter.
Planet of the Apes.
Yeah. Now scientists in southern China report that they've tried to narrow the evolutionary gap, creating several transgenic macaque monkeys with extra copies of a human gene suspected of playing a role in shaping human intelligence. This was the first attempt to understand the evolution of human cognition using a transgenic monkey model, says Bing Su, the geneticist at the Kunming Institute of Zoology, who led the effort. According to the findings, the modified monkeys did better on a memory test involving colors and block pictures, and their brains also took longer to develop, as those of human children do. There wasn't a difference in brain size, now to the normal monkeys. The experiments described on March 27 in a Beijing journal, a national science review, and first reported by Chinese media, remain far from pinpointing the secrets of the human mind or leading us, to an uprise of brainy primates rather. But nonetheless, so that was in 2019, and then why stop there? This is November 2020. Scientists splice human genes into monkey brains to make them bigger. The brains, that is, and smarter. And this is during the study, and this is Japanese and German researchers injected a gene called ARHGAP11B, which directs stem cells in the human brain into the dark matter of marmoset fetuses, different kind of monkey, according to release about the research. They found that the primate's brain soon became more human-like by developing larger and more advanced neocortexes, the area that controls cognition and language, according to the study published in the journal Science in June of 2020. According to images released by the researchers, the modified monkey brains nearly doubled in size at around 100 days into gestation. Yes, the study conducted by the Planck Institute of Molecular Cell Biology and Genetics in Germany and the Central Institute for Experimental Animals in Asia is reminiscent of the 2011 flick Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Of course, it is not. The Planet of the Apes movies go back to the 60s with Charlton Heston in the title role. But is this really, Dave? Is this really something we need to engage in, talking about craziness here, right? Is this something that we need to do? Do we have to make the monkeys? These are not apes, by the way. These are monkeys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do we need to make them smarter? Do we have to do that?
Well, it was said to have been performed also within the US in the 70s. I don't believe to the same gene splicing level, though.
No,
their chimpanzee experimentation was rather breeding.
Yeah, more primitive.
More primitive, yeah. So, anyway, I appreciate that science is attempting to find what works and what doesn't work, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if I had to guess, I would suggest that the new chimpanzee would harbour a deep resentment for the experimenter.
Oh, I've no doubt. Apes in general, I don't think. See, with monkeys, because the gap is so massive, right? Even
it's a Simpsons gag, by the way.
No.
I want to raise a small child in it was like a biosphere on his own. Like a diving bell kind of size room.
Everybody's played that. Seinfeld and Pigman. Remember Pigman?
Yeah. What do you think's going to happen? I think he'll harbour a deep resentment for me.
That's right. Sure. Now the thing is this, right? Now this is monkeys. So monkeys have a tail. That's the difference between ape and monkey.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not as bright as apes, if you will. Chimpanzees, bonobos, gorillas, orangutans, etc.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, if you started splicing this gene into those guys, I think we could see significant changes in the apes, and then Planet of the Apes would not be as far-fetched a science fiction story as ones we believe. Now, this is the funny thing, Dave, and I want you to cast your mind back to when you were a child, right? And this is going into the craziness of the world we're in here. We saw a lot of science fiction movies. Planet of the Apes.
Every single one of them.
Disaster movies to do with diseases and zombies and all kinds of things, right? You know what's true? You know what? Yeah. Well, you know what's true? What's true is that they're all coming true. All 1984. All these movies.
Yeah, that's right.
All these stories that you read as a child or a teenager or maybe later in life. They're all coming. They have come. Some have come true already.
Towering Inferno, Mickey. That was.
Yeah.
That was the soft version. That's
exactly right. And yes, here we are. This is what we have the movie called Moonfall nowadays.
Mm-hmm.
If you're familiar with that, the Moonfall, essentially, it's the moon is sort of crashing into the Earth, guided by an alien intelligence, etc. I won't wreck the movie.
No, don't wreck it for me, because I haven't seen it.
But it's great, because it goes into themes we have discussed about the moon.
Yeah.
And popularizing it, I guess, and it's really cool that they're doing that.
Time to destroy mankind again.
Yeah.
It's time.
Of course, there'll be one guy who saves the day, I'm sure. I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but
Bruce Willis isn't going to be in any new films.
He's not going to be in any movie anymore, my friend.
Yeah, I know.
I know, right?
That's quite sad, but we all have medical issues. I was told I don't need to see my specialist for another year now, which is pretty good.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. Oh,
because guess what? All of those nodes and nodules that they found on my lungs and my adrenal glands have all been calcified now.
Oh, that's good.
Well, yeah,
no, that actually is good.
That's what my doctor said. He said, that's really good. And I go, is it, doc? And he goes, yeah, because it means your body fought it, see? Isolated it, it's put a shield around it, so it's never going to escape anymore, right?
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
No, but, so you got more teeth in your lungs.
I've got teeth. I'm growing teeth everywhere now, apparently. I joked with him about my pineal gland looking like a tooth on the scan as well. That's really funny. Oh, we laughed.
Oh, we laughed ever so hard, and we hugged, and then we just cried. We cried.
Were you there?
I'm always there, Dave. I'm always there.
So you're right, Mickey. All of these science fiction things, it's almost like they could see the future and just wrote about the future in some way. About the future they saw, and then that became a book, and then a movie, and voila, guess what?
Well, it's what we saw with Jules Verne, right? Look at Jules Verne in the he wrote in the 1870s, 1880s.
That's right.
I think that's when he wrote.
Yep.
And every last thing that he wrote about has either become reality or could be a reality.
That's right.
Right. In fact, far outstripped reality. I mean, he wrote a novel in 80 Days Around the World, which at that time was revolutionary, right? However, today, of course, you take a couple hours here. Oh, not quite, but you can go around the world pretty quickly. Now, in 1988, Michael Palin of the BBC, or of actually Monty Python fame, but he was working for the BBC at the time, he went around the world, or tried to go around the world in 80 days, which is a lot harder these days. Because there's no more overland or even, a steamer ship or such transport as it existed in the olden days. So flying is easy. But he undertook the challenge of doing it like Phileas Fogg did.
Yeah.
Which is a great documentary if you haven't seen it. I do highly recommend it. But So the steel elephant, 5 weeks in a balloon. He wrote, and Captain, of course, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Mysterious Island, all these things. And I think in the Nautilus, which was the submarine of Captain Nemo, which interestingly in Latin actually means nobody, Captain Nobody, was run with geothermal power. That's what he used. He used and people were after him. That's why he became who he became, to keep the secret from those people. But all of his stories have borne out to be true. We're living in Jules Verne's world now, and have been for a long time, right? Other writers as well, you see them, and you do wonder. I mean, one of the most incredible ones, it was written in 1948, which was 1984, right? George Orwell. That's one of the more incredible ones, where you look at it, and we've well surpassed the Big Brother society that is described in the book. Well surpassed it, right? We're living in the next iteration of Big Brother. Automated AI, social credit, etc. And even Brave New World, the drugs that are being given to everybody. Soma, everybody's taking Valium or this drug or that drug or another drug.
And not just the drug, but everyone will have a place in society.
Yeah.
So this acceptance. Remember when there was a time, not even 40 years ago, where if there was a child born in a family that, wasn't entirely right, that they could just be sent away to a place to live for the rest of their life in care. Whether they made it or not, no one cared because they weren't visited. The Simpsons played on that by saying, you've got a brother, he lives in the attic, and we feed him fish heads.
Yeah, what was it? What was his name?
Oh, forget his name.
Forget his name.
Yeah, I know it's not Ruprecht the monkey boy, because that's a good name.
It wasn't. I forget his name now.
Yeah.
Albert.
No. That's all right.
Can't remember. That doesn't matter. It'll come to me. So the craziness doesn't stop. No. Look, the craziness doesn't stop. And we talked about weather modification in movies and in books. And then
I believe it's really happening.
Yeah.
So I have captured GIFs that show an outbound force of air going in every direction at ground level from a single point, showing that you could use HAARP to stretch the troposphere upwards, turn it off, and then that rebounds back to normal like an elastic band, sending a vertical column of air directly downwards, and then it spreads out from that point on the ground. If that's the only tool they have, which I don't believe it is, but I think that's one of the tools they have with basically high frequency radio. It's high amplitude something or other. HAARP, with 2 A's, that they've got the ability to play with weather. But remember, when you take something that's cold and you put it in somewhere warm, you're going to cause convection currents. You're going to be having that cold air that you've taken get replaced another way, because it's a sealed system. So all you're going to do is end up with a greater circulation. Does that indeed escalate the climate change? Does it? We don't know. Because in a closed system, if you start stirring up the layers, then the layers get warmer.
Well, it stands to reason that it would. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So look, the kids with the matches is one thing. Attempting to use it for your advantage, or simply under government instruction, which is I'm making this up because I don't think it exists, but if it did, it would be tremendous, where the insurance companies have to pay out less money because there's less damage. I've seen it occur in the face of an oncoming front with a massive thunderstorm, blowing it away. It just made it disappear. So there's things you can do if this is what they've got. If this is the tools, or these are the tools that they have at their disposal to play with, do the best you can, because we won't ever call it out that we're doing it, because if we do something wrong, then we can get blamed for it. But just continue the research, right? If that's what they have, then I'm sure they're using it. Absolutely, 100% sure.
It is almost inconceivable that it wouldn't be used.
That's right.
So it actually follows a train of thought that we should investigate just for a second. Number one, it's a whole bunch of stuff that we could do, right? And a whole bunch of stuff that we think we can't do. But then we find out, we can do it. Now, from the can, or from the could to the would to the should, is a very short jump. So just because we can do it, then let's say we can do it, right? Because we weren't sure if we could, but now we decided we can. We've got the means and the wherewithal, but should we do it? And this is a really, really important question, because we're now playing with things that are catastrophically powerful. The atom bomb. Einstein said we shouldn't.
That's right. And then at one point, when they decided that we're going to give it a go, just to see what happens, then remember the speculation that it could suck all the air out of the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Or it could cause a black hole that destroys us all.
Yeah. And they thought it might even ignite the atmosphere. I mean, they didn't know. They had no, before the first atom bomb was ignited or exploded, if you will, they had no idea what would happen. None. Zero. Like they've said. Would it have, sucked all the air out of the atmosphere? Like, would we have suffocated? Would a black hole have been created?
Yeah. Would it drain the ocean? That's right. That was the other one.
Would it drain? Would it have? Yeah. Would it have been? Would the atmosphere have been set on fire? Nobody knew. So let's just start. Hey, you know what? We're the monkey that puts his arm into the hole to see if there's a snake. That's a good idea. The most important tool we ever had is a stick. Make sure you don't leave your house without a stick.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, and this is only one technology. The other thing, Dolly. When Dolly was first cloned, a sheep. I thought, oh my goodness, what an incredible achievement. But should we do it? Now we can actually create. We can create sperm and egg out of skin cells. You know what that means? It means we no longer need people. We no longer need women or men to procreate. We don't. We just need a collection of cells. That's all we have to have, cells. And this is really reminiscent to what some of the flood mythology tells us what happened after the floods. Right? And even the epic of so I think it was the Enuma Elish, where they talk about opening the birth mothers. I believe they're just incubation machines.
That's right.
It took the fetuses out, right? Or not the fetuses, but the babies that had been, grown fully in there. But should we do it?
Adding to that list, the growing list of things, should we do it, is CRISPR.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big one.
CRISPR.
That's massive, Dave.
And now Pfizer's going to start because it's mRNA driven, and they can deliver basically let's call it a token, just a small string of DNA, a strand of not a full length one, just a small snippet. This is what they want to move in and replace your current DNA with.
Yeah.
Now, if that's put into a live cell, the next replication will have that new code, and it moves in, cuts the old piece out, moves in and replaces itself. Now they call it gene modification or gene therapy, right? But should we do it? What happens if it finds exactly the same piece that but it's in the wrong spot and it makes the wrong change?
Yes.
Yeah.
But we don't know.
But what happens? Maybe some crazy amount of randomness later, we've all had our genes within our lifetime modified, all the genetic diseases are wiped away, and we can go forward from there, but then we find out that we can't replicate anymore.
Look, and the problem here is this, right? We have no idea what the
It's a great
implications are.
movie right there.
It is, but we have no. In fact, a movie with similar theme was, I think it was the Omega Man or the Last Man with Will Smith.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, this lady had actually done exactly that, and she had pretty much cured cancer, right? Turns out that this cancer cure actually changed the genetic makeup of the subjects, turning them into something, well, post-human, if you will, right? And then left only very few humans on the planet of which Will Smith was one. I'm the last. I can't remember. I am Legend. Oh, I Am Legend. That's it. But ultimately, though, because we don't know what the implications are, we're not smart enough yet, and our computers aren't good enough to actually run all the simulations and all the models to really tell us what could happen if we do whatever we do. And especially when we start playing around with ourselves and our genetic material, it can be catastrophically bad. Right? It can be, because
the fact that we're having a conversation, that we're starting to play with our own DNA. You know, you can change the color of a baby's eyes, right?
Yeah, but what is the knock-on effect here, Dave? What would the eye color change trigger in other adjacent or unrelated or further down the chain?
I get that. But the next thing that people are going to want to do, those with enough money, will be to live forever.
Yeah.
And if a gene change is all that's required to live forever, to break that program, of 120 years limit, guess what? They're going to be right on that.
Well, yeah, and this is really where it gets interesting, right, everybody? So both Dave and I very strongly believe that our genetic code is not original or mint or vanilla, meaning someone tampered with it. I very, very, very strongly believe that our genes are not what they once were a long time ago, but rather what someone made them. And the 120-year limit. Some people actually, might have lived longer, but 120 years is probably good average.
And that's a little bit arguable because we don't have proof of the date.
Oh, correct. But it's pretty much what it is, and there's no good reason why we should die at all. We talked about this in other show cycles many times.
Like the shrimp and the jellyfish.
Like the shrimp and the jellyfish, my friend. And we're getting to the point where we are understanding a lot more about what makes us tick, right? Now, is this going to trigger a response or not, as it were? I mean, what if we did change our genetic makeup to make sure that our cells don't age? Because it's really senescence, cell aging that we're worried about. I mean, you can't escape an accident. If a brick falls on your head, then you're probably going to die, right? But if you can avoid aging,
there's a wooden stake or a silver bullet too, Mackie. Just using Hollywood terms. Yeah. Exactly.
You die, right? But if you could,
because they were immortal.
That's correct. That is correct.
Think about that for a second.
Well, look, the legends, all those legends Dave just referred to, they have their origin in something. Just to be clear, right? We won't go into this too much detail now. No. We will in the future. But certainly, there is a component here which cautions us. I mean, you want to be youthful, right? When you're immortal, you want to be youthful. You want to be healthy. All those things. There's a couple of changes in your DNA might do that, right? And then you probably would be very careful. How you live, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe you have to undergo regular treatments. I don't know.
Well, but ultimately, if you yourself had that change, you would then start to see everyone else age, like you see your pet age rather quickly in comparison to a human, right? So then you would want to keep yourself away from everyone because you wouldn't want them to get a hint that you were now going to live forever.
Yes. Now, just think about that for a second here. I mean, obviously, being alone and immortal is boring, and you don't want that. So you want it for all of you people, your family or whatever. Right? I would imagine. Right? But where do you stop? And how many immortal people can we afford on the planet? Right? No, I'm serious. Right?
No, I'm laughing because of, well, all the billionaires.
All the billionaires.
Yeah.
Because we are living in a closed system, like Dave said earlier, with regards to the weather. And in a closed system, we also have finite resources. Now, notwithstanding our, opportunity to go into space and get resources from there, that's still way a bit off, and it's still quite expensive to do, but one day. However, if we were to introduce immortality today on the planet for everybody, and there's no change to the birth, yeah, that's right. They would not want to give up the right to have children. Like nobody wants to do that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Within less than 50 years, we'll be standing on each other, literally.
Yeah.
Literally, right? Even now, the population is growing. Given what the death rate is, it's growing quite significantly. Imagine you take the death rate away, or significantly reduced. Right. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. People shouldn't die. Absolutely. But we need to have the infrastructure in place to support that kind of thing, right? And we have to be a lot more careful in how we breed as a race. That sounds fascist, doesn't it? Well, I'm sorry. If you have immortality, you have to control your breeding. Right? It's that simple. Unless we go into outer space, Dave, or interdimensional, or whatever. Right? If we go,
mm-hmm.
Well, there's that.
Continue. Yeah, we could continue to breed at our current rate if we happen to be on another planet.
Yeah.
Like bacteria.
Yeah, we could fill the galaxy within 10,000 years, I reckon.
Yeah, they say a million years. Within a million years, we'd be
million.
Yeah, within 1 million years at a current rate of transportation speed.
Yes, current tech, yeah, fair enough.
We would still be able to populate, say, 3/4 to of all the stars we see in the sky.
But imagine how much
in a galaxy, yeah.
But imagine how much more we will advance. Our technological advancement has just been staggering recently. Just imagine how much more we can do and how much more we actually are doing, right? With secret programs, etc.
Well, on the surface, we only see this much, and still that amount is staggering.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the exotic materials that we're due to discover soon is going to be the next step. So right now, our periodic table ends. And we're going to see more and more exotic materials. So we haven't scratched the surface as far as composites are concerned. We think we have, but we haven't. Graphene still has a long way to go before it's then everything we use. Just like kind of Bakelite was, we made everything out of that, and then plastic. We've made we thought everything was made out of Bakelite. No, plastic has become the thing we make everything out of, unless it's got a unique, a hinge or something that needs more wear resistance. We've even made cars out of plastic, but composite materials are the way forward. And now we're starting to 3D print in. You can print in a polymer called Nylon X. It's nylon, but it has chopped strand carbon fiber in it, and it's called black aluminium or black aluminum, depending on where you are. And its technical properties are as close to aluminium as possible, but you can print it. So you can print very complex shapes and forms. You can 3D print with aluminium if you really want to. It's not a problem. But rather than cast and then get, as a technical engineer, you create something that can't be made because of our restriction of the ability to machine something into a form, to be able to assemble it out of parts so that you match that technical diagram. Well, now you can just print it. Doesn't matter how complicated the darn thing is. You can print the thing that you can dream of.
That's right.
Right. So that will be tremendous in space where you don't have manufacturing, but you could 3D print You could 3D print yourself an entire ship. It's a thing. So just thinking about what our next steps would be. I think the materials, composite materials, are going to be off the charts, and new discoveries, and expand the periodic table, because we're limited by, 1, gravity, 2, our access to these materials, but the materials are out there in space, and we've yet to come across most of them. Imagine, Mickey, if we could, mine something from the previous nova that occurred in this region, where we haven't even discovered those metals. So they're so hard, so dense, or you make something in a non-gravity environment. Remember Skylab? That's what its whole purpose was to manufacture materials that haven't been made before.
That's right.
So everyone wants a lab in space now, because they realize that's where a lot of these exotic materials are manufactured.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Space forges that,
Yeah. So look, the future is always going to be in front of us, but I think right now this is the most craziest time. As long as they don't get denied or don't get, which is never going to happen. It's always going to happen. Whatever they find, it's going to get buried away. We'll never see it again. Yeah.
Yeah. Look, as soon as something can be done, it will be done. Because nobody asks these. See, we don't teach ethics or philosophy or morals, God forbid, or morality in school. We don't. We're not really. We talk about it as a thing, as a subject, like the abstract thing. What's ethics? Oh, it's this and that. Okay, do I need it? Oh, well, not really. If you're in the corporate world, it's just going to hurt you. Which is true.
But
ultimately, it is absolutely true. Ultimately, we will come to a point where we will do something that we shouldn't have. And we may already have passed that threshold for all I know. I don't know. But we don't employ wisdom in the application of science or technology. We just don't. Can it be done? Let's just do it. We do it for profit. What is driving this civilization is an unhealthy greed. Right? Previous civilizations, I'm not saying they were perfect, but there were different motivators. I'm sure it's at play. Greed. This is an old phenomenon. It's been around for a while, but the shape, the form it has taken recently, that's new. It's the most important thing. Nothing else matters. The only thing matters is in the world is corporations. Forget nations. Nobody cares about nations anymore. No, it's corporations. Corporations
are bigger than nations now.
Much bigger and completely independent of them. I mean, we've got lots of resources here in Australia, right? Natural resources that are mined. The profits largely go elsewhere, right? Largely to Spain, or a lot of these companies set up their corporate headquarters in Singapore because the tax rate is better. Okay, so look at what Google and Facebook are headquartered, for example, for tax purposes. I'm talking about tax purposes. Okay.
Yeah,
that's right. The corporation is the single most important entity today in the world. Everything happens by the will of the corporation. Now, if you're half smart, then you sort of you get into a corporation and move up as high as you can. Most of us will just be steamrolled by the corporations, right? And it's not even. It doesn't even matter what they make or produce. It's the ethos. It's the thought model behind the corporation days. It's how they're built up. It is completely irrelevant what the business is. It doesn't make any difference. In fact, the corporation could do one thing today, another thing tomorrow. It makes no difference. It is this drive for more profits and this incredible greed to find cheaper ways of making things or doing things or buying things and then selling them as much profit as possible.
That's right. So the very next step is to replace all the humans with machines, because they just do what they're told.
But that's where we are today. Today we
that's
are.
Right.
So in
because they'll work 24/7 too, by the way.
Oh, 100%. There's no unionized labor.
That's right.
There's nothing. Construction, we see, like car manufacturing, for example, automotive manufacturing. Right?
Kiss my shiny metal ass.
Yeah, exactly. In Japan, it's all automated, right?
That's right.
other countries are following suit. But that's not even the worst. A lot of the jobs that you guys hold and we hold as well, they will be automated away as well, but not by machines, not by metallic or plastic machines.
No,
we're going to be replaced by code.
That's right.
It's software.
Yeah.
A lot of people are being replaced by software because it's cheaper. It doesn't cause any issues. Like you go to a website and a thing pops up and says, "Oh, can I help you?" Right? That's not a person.
There's no person behind that. That's right.
No person. It's
that's easily discernible. Those little pop-ups don't pass the Turing test. I'll tell you that.
No, they don't.
The Turing test. Yep.
But there are some that do, right? And they're becoming more sophisticated and cheaper as well. And eventually, a lot of us, even professions like doctors, like medicine, right? Professions like law, where you think it's impossible to have them replaced. Not so. We're even building automated writing engines, if you will. Like we can write novels, right? Create paintings.
And music.
Now, this is actually terrifying if you think about it for a second. Terrifying. It's not just taking away our work. It's taking away our creative genius. Okay, it's taken away. Yeah, that's right. The movie Sleeper Dave, right? Yeah, go on. That's it.
Yeah. So the protagonist is confronted with being found guilty in a courtroom that is just a podium and an AI. That's it. There's no being judged by your peers, and it doesn't matter what he says. He's still going to be guilty. It's predetermined, you see.
And this is really where it comes in. Like where we will have algorithms so sophisticated, which is Minority Report all over, right?
Oh yes.
That will allow the machines to judge us before we've done anything. They will extrapolate to a very high degree of confidence, and someone has to set that degree of confidence.
That's right, whatever it is.
99.999%, or maybe 100%, or whatever it is. But it has to be pretty high. But they will prevent crime from happening. How do you know they're successful? Well, you don't really know.
Well, the crime's gone down.
Yeah.
But we'll just take that as a success.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's what would happen. But like in the book by Philip K. Dick and the subsequent movie Minority Report, the very title tells you there was a Minority Report where there was another outcome. So they didn't use AI. They used 3 telepaths or 3 people that could see the future, really, right? A set of twins and a girl. They could see the future, essentially. And what they saw was then translated into action with the pre-crime department. We won't have that. We will have algorithms and AI and deep learning and machine learning that will crunch and go away and data mine everything to find out what we're likely to do. And then there may not be a Minority Report because that machine will be absolute. There won't be a dissenting opinion. So the twins in the movie came up with the scenario, right, of what happened. So and the girl would come up with a different scenario occasionally, right? It's a sort of a control, if you will. But they ignored that. There won't be anything like that in our world because there won't be 3 people being able to see the future, and one of them maybe be able to see a slightly different future. This will just be purely machine.
Yeah. So RoboCop, the remake, the latest one, where the brain that was all that was left of the person is able to make decisions, but they wind back the outcome of those decisions so that the person, the brain, still alive inside the machine, feels as though that was the decision they made.
Oh, really?
So yeah, they wound back the percentage of that person's control, so they couldn't override an order.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to add to that. So Facebook is talking about the ability to continue a dead person's account as a persona, and if you message them, it would respond like that person would. using an AI on all their previous posts, and you know, using the Turing test, you would assume they were still alive.
Yeah, I can't see any problems there at all.
It's kind of like Rimmer, you know, as a hologram.
I think ethically. Ethically.
Oh, you and your ethics.
Look at this ethics, man. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong from almost any angle I can look at.
But it's like Futurama with the head in the jar.
No, I am with you.
You know what I mean?
Still wrong.
If they're offering it, I wonder there's going to be people that take it up. Obviously, it'd cost a fee or something.
Look, I'm sure they will.
Clearly.
I'm sure
there'd be $1 in it.
And then eventually we'll be able to transfer our consciousness, because that'll happen. But we're lacking right now. We're lacking 3 things. 1, sufficient storage and non-degrading storage. 2, sufficient computing power to then 3, map all the relevant points within your not just your brain but your body to map onto a personality matrix somewhere. Right? Mm-hmm. Once we have all those, there's really no reason why you can't be mapped onto, well, I don't know, a crystal or a matrix or something.
If we're at that point anyway, I don't think there's much in it for us.
No, not really. It'll all be done. And that's really the premise of that recent carbon, something carbon.
Carbon 14?
No, it was a TV show.
Carbon Rod?
Well done. No, not even close.
Remember the Carbon Rod gets a parade?
Altered Carbon. Where they actually can transfer themselves into this little, I guess, node you can hold on your hand, and that node can then be used to transfer your personality into another host body.
Nice.
Essentially. If you haven't watched the show or read the books, really interesting. Altered Carbon. We're exploring all these things, and remember, 100 years ago, Jules Verne was talking about going around the world in 80 days, steel elephants in India, and submarines running on geothermal power, and it all came true. Wow. So in another 100 years, I think we can safely conclude that all our science fiction fantasies
will come true.
Will come true indeed.
Yay!
Scary stuff.
Hey, I wanted, just before the end of the show, I just wanted to say that there was a final news story which we didn't get really time for, so I'll just give it a minute. A missing 4-year-old in Tasmania was found a kilometre away from a house a couple of days later, which is very good news for everyone involved. Yeah, but it adds to this growing list of 411s, and we're going to seek to have the author come on our show and talk about the gap between when he wrote the last one to now, and see if he's got any difference of opinion.
That would be good.
Yeah,
that'd be really, really good.
So, look, this is David Mackey's Shining Side Out. This is episode 424. We're at the end of the first hour. We have one more hour to go. If you live in Australia, yes, daylight savings ended. Boo. If I had anything to do with it, we would just simply make it either one of those 2 time zones. I don't really care. Just make it one. Don't make a change. I hate changing. I really do.
That's right. Makes no sense anymore.
The curtains, mate. It stops the curtains from fading.
Yes. It made sense when we had candles, everyone.
that it did. Hey, we'll be back after a short break. Can you use the time to donate using the Patreon button that's on the website? And and we'll see you shortly.